Evening, gents and gent-esses. This is Mick, Mickey Boy's crazy ass lap guide of Le Mans. Le Mans. That's how they say it. Le Mans. Not Le Mans. You've got a Pontiac Le Mans, call it a Pontiac Le Mans. If you come here, call it Le Mans. Two of the best tracks coming up now, and I was actually just shared a couple of stories about the Silverstone race with Mr. Le Mans himself, Michel, and yeah, we were saying about how, you know, the championship's going and all the rest of it, and we're both sort of saying to each other, yeah, you know, Le Mans is a race where anything can happen, and it's going to be a bit of a lottery who wins this race. There's some fast enough drivers. There's a lot of drivers fast enough to keep up with the lead pack at this place. If there's no errors on lap one, there's going to be a huge pack at the end of this race fighting. If there's no silly mistakes by anyone, it's almost like Talladega. It's anyone's race who's up the front. Anyway, couple of things I have to say about this track is, first of all, you have to get your revs, your revolutions per minute, exactly right down the straight. Otherwise you'll be nowhere on the last lap. Second thing is, first gear doesn't matter at this track because you need to use first gear through the really slow corners. So that means first gear is really, really long. I'm using a Silverstone setup, and I just lengthened it. Well, I'd used the same gear ratios, but I got my top end gear sorted out. And I mean, everyone knows that in the pack we're going to be racing at about 220 miles an hour probably along the straight. And you know, so if you don't change your gear setup, you just change your final drive ratio, that's going to make your first gear really long. That's what I did just for a test, and my first gear was still too short for the corners. These slow corners are still pretty quick, really, you know, for, you know, in normal physical terms. You know, a slow corner on a racetrack isn't really a slow corner, you know. Probably, you know, whatever the hell that one is at Monaco, you know, where you have to full lock it to the left to get round. Station hairpin, is it called? I don't know. Mirabeau? I don't know. I never know the names of corners. I'm pretty good here, though. Anyway, the first thing I talk about is, before I talk about first gear, I'm going to talk about how important it is to get your revs right. This old engine is a 4-valve per cylinder engine. If you've ever driven, I think I said this in an old video, if you've ever driven a car with, you know, an old car with a 16-valve engine, you'll know that these engines are really peaky engines. I mean, they got no power whatsoever till you get to a certain rev range, and then they got like masses of power. And on your road car, you really rarely sort of hit the limiter or get near it, so you know, you don't really feel what happens after the power's gone. In the 49 we do, because we're always going past the peak power of the engine. That's another point to make while I'm talking about revs and stuff like that. The best way to get maximum power out of the engine in the 49 is to rev it right up until the rev limiter, which is around 9,400 and something revs, and then go for your gear change. This engine peaks at 9,000, dead on 9,000, or maybe, you know, a gnat's cock under or over. I don't know which one it is, but it's you know, I say 9,000. So why go past that and change your gear at 9,500 then? Because if you change gear at 9,000 RPM, when you change gear, your revs are going to be dropping to what, 7.5 or something like that. There's no power down there at 7.5. There is obviously, but there's not, you know, not as much as if you change at 9,500 and go to, I don't know what number I just gave. You know, change gear, then the revs are higher than they were going to be. So you're closer. You know, you always want to be as close to that 9,000 RPM peak power output as you can. And that means revving past it to get the next gear near it. So you'll know what I mean by that. I'm just going to show you how important top gear here is. I can't remember which way I've got it. I think I've got my gears set pretty much now. In default weather, you're going to be, you'll want to be hitting around 212 miles an hour. If you can hit 212 miles an hour, that's it, your job's done. I don't think anyone will get 213, and the majority of people will get 211. I've got my gears set really nicely now, and all I can get is 211 down the straight. I've got a funny feeling, I haven't changed my set, it's the Silverstone set. That had a massive amount of toe on the front, 0 toe on the rear, just to get the corners, you know, get around the corners. But I think it had like 9/30 seconds of toe on the front. So I'm going to go a lot lower than that. And I've got a funny feeling that might sort my top speed out. Yeah, just before I do that, just before I show you how, you know, how it is, how important it is to get the gears right, I'll tell you why. Basically what happens is, basically the story of this race is you get away from the start, and if you're lucky enough to have got a good qualifying lap, which is really important here, if you mess your qualifying lap, it doesn't matter how fast you are a driver, you will not catch the lead group. You'll be very, very lucky to catch the lead group. And basically what will happen is if one of the leaders, or if, you know, one of the fast guys in this series messes up qualifying, the lead group will know that straight away, obviously, by where he is on the grid, and they will work together to get away from him. I guarantee it. And that gap can be like over 2 seconds. If the lead group of like 2 or 3 or 4 cars get away, chances are they're going to work together to get rid of the 5th place car if he's about 2 seconds away down the straight, just to you know, eliminate that guy from the last lap, because this race all depends on the last lap. Every race depends on the last lap, but this race is only won on the last lap. All races are won on the last lap. Yeah, but this is a race of attrition. All races are races of attrition. Yeah, but you got to, you know, every race you have to. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, it's a bit like Monza, where there's not much of a point of a battle up until the last lap. So, yeah, so you've got to be at the front and be, you know, able to fight on the last lap. So you need a really good gear to position yourself right along the straight, because as soon as you get to the end of the straight and you turn right on the Mulsanne corner, that's where the last lap fight begins. So you need to position your car there, around there. I do it a little bit differently, and I'm going to tell you how I do it. And I think it's the right way to go about it. You know, other people think, you know, other people can set up differently or whatever and, you know, do it a different way, but I do it this way, and I'll tell you how and why I do it. Talking about the last lap there. So, anyway, the reason you need a really good really good top gear is basically what's going to happen is if you're following someone onto the straight, or someone's following you, basically if the person or yourself hasn't got a good top end gear, and you know, if one car has and one car hasn't, The car that has got a massive advantage going down the straight because he can position himself where he wants on that straight. If you haven't got the best top gear on the straight, you're not going to be able to position yourself that good by the time you get to the end of the straight. Yeah. If you know you're going to be hitting 220, you know, and you've got a decent gear to do it, you can relax a bit and just nail the last part of the straight and know that you're going to be in front, you know, or wherever you want to be, if you want to be in front, that is. So, and another reason is if you're trying to catch a group, like I said, the leaders know what they're doing here. If say, for instance, you know, there's two cars leading and the third place car gets a little, you know, has a little mistake, has a little slidey moment, you know, before you get to the straight from the grid, the leaders will work together and they will get rid of that guy if that guy is on his own now. Now, if that third place guy hasn't got anyone to work with, that is the race over. That is the race over because the leaders, you know, and I'm not talking about myself and you know, Michelle and Uwe or whatever. There's a lot of guys here that know what they're doing around the Porsche curves and through the chicanes to keep up with the lead pack. So that's what I'm saying. You know, if two cars are lucky enough to get a gap, they know they're going to work their arse off to get away, and that means drafting each other down the straight. And then normally, you know, you'll know through the week who's faster through the Porsche curves and who's faster at the end of the lap. So, you know, you normally let that car lead. You know, and then you'll start doing your drafting, partnering thing along the straight for the next lap, and hopefully then you'll get a gap to the car that's behind you. That's all out the window if the cars behind start working together as well, because there's no way you know you can get away. You know, this place has got too much of a draft. The car's got too much of a draft. iRacing have got it wrong. There's no way this car can pick up 2 seconds draft and get back to the lead group. No way on earth in real life. Not even a second gap, I don't think. Anyway, that's besides the point. So yeah, so basically the story of the race is, you know, you'll start off, there's going to be a huge group of cars. Hopefully there's going to be a huge group of cars. I'm not talking about splits, I'm talking about people not making mistakes at the start of the race. Hopefully there's going to be a huge group of about, you know, 29, 30 cars all going down the straight, you know, in a huge group, you know, 3 wide, people battling for position and, you know, maniacs trying to gain, you know, massive places from a bad qualifying position and that sort of stuff. Then the race sort of dies down a bit. You'll get a lot of people not really understanding the race and trying to fight, you know, all the way through the race and not realising that there's no point. Exactly the same as Monza. You get people fighting for position at Monza, you know, on lap 3 and stuff like that. I don't know why. There's no point why. No reason why, I mean. You know, if you're in the lead group, of course. If you're not in the lead group, yeah, you've got to fight. Yeah, definitely, I can understand that. But if you're, you know, if you're in the lead pack of about 4 or 5 cars, then why are you fighting for position on lap 3 when you know it's all going to come down to what happens in the last couple of laps? Anyway, I'm not having to go at anyone. Just don't do it. All right, do it if you want. You know, you pay to be here as much as I do. I'm not your boss. What was I saying? What the hell was I talking about? You're going to have a huge pack, hopefully coming down this straight. I'm sitting at Mulsanne corner now, and trying to get round the lap, and everyone's going to have their F3 screen on to see what's going on in the timing screens and see where the gaps are and all the rest of it. And then gaps will form. There'll be mistakes. There'll be a few wrecks. You'll get a couple of cars running into the sand at Indianapolis, is it? You know, the really fast right-hander before the really heavy cambered left-hander, and then, you know, the little slow right into the Porsche chicanes down the end of that straight, you know. So, you know, you turn right in Mulsanne corner, you go down that huge long straight, and then you've got that huge sand trap on the left-hand side. You will get cars coming off there. It always happens, and a lot of the time it does cause a wreck. That's, you know, things like that are going to cause the gaps. So also slowdowns for people are going to cause massive gaps as well. This track's all about slowdowns. There's hardly any 1X's here. It's all about slowdowns. If you run wide on the corner, you're going to get a slowdown. And then the people backing off, you know, because you've backed off, then the people behind have to slightly back off, you know. And if that happens on the first part of the Mulsanne corner, the Mulsanne straight, then the people have, again, that's how the gaps form. So so gaps will form, and then there'll be a few little battles on track and all the rest of it. And then you'll run to the last of the end of the lap, and then I'll talk about the last lap a little bit later on. But I'm going to show you now how to get your top gear sorted. And most people think they already know, but watch this. I'm going to go ahead and run and see what sort of top speed I've got down the straight. So I'll just turn the sound down so you can hear me think. Hear me talk, I mean, while I can hear myself think. So basically, like I said, you're aiming for 212, 211, 200, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take some tow out of the car and see what happens. I had 7. Tow out was on 7. That's not too bad. I've put it down to 5 just to see. I've got 0 on the rear wheels. Like I say, I'm still using the Silverstone set, but I've sort of pretty much sorted out my my gearing. I'll just show you first gear, how grim first gear is going to be off the start. So that's my first gear. That was 95 miles an hour in first gear there. And I'll explain why you need to do that. You don't need to do it, but I do it. That's the best way to say it. Nobody needs to worry about this part of the circuit. You don't need to worry about this at all. You don't have to be fast around here. As long as you're, you know, not really slow. You're not going to be stupidly slow around there, but as long as you're not, you're alright. I'll tell you why later. So here we go, let's see how fast we can get down here. So, 4th gear, 190 miles an hour. 194 miles an hour in first gear, 4th gear. Let's see what we get in 5th. 204, 205, 206, 207, 208, 209. Going uphill slightly, so I don't think we're going to get 210 yet. No, we might. 210. Can we get 211? There's 211. Just a little flash of 211 miles an hour. So I still want to try and go a little bit faster if I can. Obviously we don't know because we haven't run this season. 211 might be seriously bloody quick, you know. Right, I just want to show you what happens if you've got it slightly wrong. So my final drive there was on 0.958, so all I could do was go down 1, you know, unless I wanted to change the final drive, but I don't want to do that yet. So it's at 9:16 now, so the revs are going to be lower, and let's just see what happens at the top speed. God knows why they didn't run this track in 1967. You know, they were running the Nürburgring. Why didn't they run the Formula One race here that year? You know, they ran that stupid Bugatti circuit over there to the right. Anyway, let's see how we do. So look, already down to 8,000 RPM, 202, 203, 204, 205, 206, 7, 208, 209, 2010, and that's it. We didn't get to 211. Right. Even that alone, and it will be the same the other side if you're too high. That alone is a huge difference when you're in the draft and when you're trying to fight down this straight. So I don't know if you noticed that the revs were about 750 there, and before that they were on they were dead on around 9,000. So that's how important it is to get the car right in your top gear. Honestly, trust me, it will make a massive difference. And the only time you'll see it, if you've not got it right, is you'll be going down a straight, and someone who has got it right will fly past you so quick, and they'll be in front of you before you know it, and then you'll be picking up the toe. And then you'll get alongside and you'll think, why is my car taking so long to overtake this car? You will get past, but it will seem like it's taken not twice as long, it'll take about 3 times longer to get past. And then the guy will pass you again, and he'll pass you like you're standing still again. And that's the only reason that that's happening, is because you're either you're either under 9,000 or, worst case scenario, over 9,000 RPM. And that's what will happen, and that gives him the huge advantage of being where he wants to be at the end of the straight on the last lap, because you're thinking, you're starting to see that kink to the right, and you're thinking, I'm not going to get round him now, and he's defending to the inside after that kink. You're not going to get round him, so that's the reason why you have to have your revs set. So that's, I'm not going to talk about that. I've talked so much about that. What's the point? I just should have said, trust me, guys, 9,000 RPM. You'll be all right. Oh yeah, the other thing is to note as well. This is while I'm on my own at the track. So this is a qualifying gearing set. You want to be at 9,000 RPM a lot later than that. In the race. So maybe that 0.916 ratio I just tried where the revs were too low, maybe that would be good for the race. When we're in the pack, then that's going to come in handy there. So you need to work out your gear ratios for your qualifying setup and your race setup. They're going to be 2 different gearings on your top end. So let's go around a lap now, and then I'll show you some points. So there's quite a lot to talk about. Not only braking points and racing lines, but race strategy. It's so important at this race. Like I said, I mean, race strategy comes down to this part of the track, that you don't have to be that good at this part of the track. I'll tell you why later, but let's just get around here and talk about this little exit here. Right, do not run wide here, you get a slowdown. If you put your car here, I think this is about enough as I think this might be a little bit over. But you will get a slowdown. The last thing you want is a slowdown getting onto this straight, because it takes ages to clear, and you'll brake, and then you'll put your foot down again, and it will clear, and then it will slow down, and then it might even go up and again. Then you've got to brake again. Then you've got people behind you. Behind you doing the same. And you know, I've just realised all those on the left there, you know, iRacing have just used the same tree, but they've just rotated it. That's disgusting. If they haven't, no, they haven't. I take it all back, and I apologise profusely. They haven't. Some of them have got really long trunks. Some of them have got short trunks. But they don't go swimming. Yeah, so slowdowns here. Worst thing to get is a slowdown here. You're going to cause mayhem for everyone behind you, especially on the first lap. And if you're in the lead pack, or you're fighting to get into a pack, and you're doing it, and then all of a sudden you get a slowdown, that's it, you've lost it. So yeah, so let's get down this straight. So yeah, drums, yeah, bass drum on 1 and 3, count to 4, bass drum on 1 and 3, snare on 2 and 4, so count 1, 2, 3, 4, bass drum, snare drum, bass drum, snare drum, and then stick your hi-hat in the middle. This is for Nicola, by the way, he wanted a drumming lesson while I was doing this. So yeah, bass drum 1 and 3, snare drum 2 and 4, just count your way through it, don't fuck the timing up, and just same as, you know, when you hit the bass drum with your foot, you hit the hi-hat with your, whatever hand you're hitting it with. When you hit the snare drum with your hand, you hit the hi-hat. So you hit your bass drum on 1 and 3, snare drum on 2 and 4, and your hi-hat on 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Bass drum, snare drum, bass drum, snare drum. Yeah? It's easy. How long did that take? Go into linear beats, polyrhythms next lesson. That's the next straight at the Nürburgring. Oh shit, braking. God, that was almost as good as the end of Back to the Future where he spins the DeLorean out. Right, where's that 200 metre? There it is. That 200 metre board there is your brake marker for that corner down there, which is called the Mulsanne corner. It's called that because there was a woman that lived at the end of it called Anne. And, right, anyway. So don't worry about the curb on the left, on the right, sorry. As you run down here, oh, don't hit the wall. As you hit your brakes back down 200, cut across down the middle of the track, down to first gear, see where that cone is, go past that cone, do not hit that cone. I'm not sure if you get a slowdown or a 1x, but you get something if you hit that cone, and it's not a prize. The worst case scenario for you when you turn in is to hit these bollards on the right or go too much over this curb, because you will get a slowdown on this straight. So just give yourself a nice bit of room for that entry. Just try and run that entry as it goes. Let's see if I can do the old spin up thing. Right. Oh no. Right. Back to the Future. Oh god. Alright, so anyway. So as you come to you just give up and go in the pits and get a new car. Alright, bear with me. Right, I think I better talk through the first part of the lap as well. I think I better talk through the first part of the lap now. So let's go from the start, which It's all the way down here. So, why is qualifying so important at Le Mans? It is so important because if you're not up the front, you know, if you're not as high as you can possibly be, you're going to lose touch with the lead pack. Chances are you will lose touch with the lead pack, and then that's your race over. You'll never catch them on your own. This corner is a first gear corner. Oh yeah, why have I got such a long first gear? You know, that's going to mess my start up. The reason is, you don't need a good start at this track. The reason being, once you get to the Mulsanne corner, or not the Mulsanne corner, the corner that goes onto the Mulsanne straight, the fast right-hander with the bad slowdown on the edge. Once you get there, as long as you're under or around, or even slightly, I'm talking about 2.1, 2.2, as long as you've got that gap, you will catch back up with the leader. And then you've got a really nice, that means you're back where you wanted to be on the lead group. That means you've got the perfect gear for all these slow corners. Now the reason I use first instead of second on a lot of these slow corners is because you're getting the car from, I don't know, I'm just guessing, say 60 miles an hour from the Mulsanne corner. It's probably under that. I don't know, it might be about 60. Say 60 miles an hour from that Mulsanne corner at the end of the long straight. On the last lap, you're going to need all the speed you can get to get your position. So the more gears you have available to you from that corner, the better it is. If you're going from second gear from the Mulsanne corner, you've only got 3 more gears to use, and they're going to have quite a big step between the gears. Yeah, you're going to get a tow, but it's a lot better if you go from first gear from the Mulsanne corner. Like I said, this race is all on the last lap, and position yourself properly for that last lap. So let's get around there now. Again, said it again, don't have to be that fast around this part of the track, as long as you get your apexes and you don't mess up too badly. As long as you're within 2 seconds of the guy you're fighting on the last lap, well, you won't be that far away. But as long as you're in drafting distance, which is about a second, it's pretty rare that you're going to lose a second to anyone just through those few corners there. And it's pretty good to be a second behind the person you're fighting down here. If you want to be in front by the Mulsanne corner, you'll be coming along here. The guy's in front, he's hitting 212 on his own, or less than that in the full weather, because his gear will be south of the race. So if you're hitting 2.7, you'll be at 2.15 chasing him down. You would have caught him by now, trust me. So you'll be in front, and you might even want to leave it a little bit later. If you want to be in front by the Mulsanne corner, don't pass him straight away. Leave it a bit, and even leave it. You want to be like a good sort of 5 car lengths away from him now. So as you turn the kink, you're gaining. He's gone to the inside. Okay, sod you then. I'm going to stay here on the outside. Now you're in front. Watch for the 200 metre board. There it is. No, there it is. You're still in front. You get a nice exit. Don't take too much curb. You're still in front. He's on the inside now. And then your fight begins for the last lap. So that's why you have such a spot-on gear ratio for the straight. This is in a corner, even for this car. Try not to run up the curb like I did there. Right, brake marker for this turn is that first marker there, the 200 metre board. Right, there's your marker there on the right. So let's just get a little muddy donut going on. Right, that's your marker there. That 200 metre board. There's a white line on the floor as well to help you if you don't sort of want to look up at that. But not that far out of your view. Anyway, so you're running down here, 5th gear. I think you want to drop down 2 gears. You're running on this bit on the edge, on the right, left. God, my right and left, man, what the... God. I won't go all the way down here. I'll stop here maybe. The hybrid sign. Right, so brake at the 200 metre board. I'll do that now even though I haven't got him. So brake, run wide here, look, then cut across that curb, take a bit of that curb, down to 2nd gear here, hit that curb, and then just use all the camber. You know, you can get a really good bite out of that corner, you know. So, get your you know, you aim for the camber, you get a nice bite. Don't run too wide over there. 2nd gear is, if you can get your 2nd gear right, to run all the way down this little straight, it's ideal. It's really good to do that. I always try and set up the 2nd gear to do that. If you do that, if you've got a decent 2nd gear coming through this corner, no one's going to get a run on you down there. It's just not going to happen. So I would have already been in 2nd gear, so there's my 2nd gear, look. It's pretty good. Run that curve on the left. Here's my good 1st gear. See, this is what I'm saying, I still think that's a little bit long, a little bit short. Right, let me stop and talk about this part. It's really important, this is. And I did say I'd tell you all my secrets about this track and what I do. I've been saying about going through your pass down the Mulsanne Straight, and I don't know if it's called the Mulsanne Straight. Sorry, Jonathan, I don't know. For anyone that's Jonathan, how'd you say his name? Jonathan Butel, maybe. He had a massive input in getting this track to the service, you know. I'm not talking, you know, even in inputs in how it was made, I think, and you know how the slowdowns were done and all the rest of it. You know, he didn't just say, "Can we have Le Mans, please?" You know, he had a huge input, so, and it was so worth it. I love this place. Anyway, right, so let's go back to the straight. So if you want to do your passing on the straight, that's your choice. That's what you do. Pass on the straight, try and stay in front after the Mulsanne corner. Get down to there where I've just gone through, fast corner, hopefully you're staying in front there. And then, yeah, just fight till the end, you know, and just try and stay in front. I think that's too hard to do. Especially if you're fighting against someone who's pretty quick around here, and they know what they're doing. Basically what I do is I try and position my car to be behind whoever I'm fighting at the end of the Mulsanne Straight. Then I want to go around the Mulsanne corner as close to the guy's arse as I can and get the best exit I can through the Mulsanne corner, and then pass him along that straight before I get to that corner down there, what I'm looking at. I want to be in front by the time I get to that corner, not on the Mulsanne corner. I don't want to be in front going into the Mulsanne corner. Chances are, if the person behind me is a quick guy, he's going to be in front by the time we get back down here. And then it's pretty hard to get in front. Well, it's not pretty hard. It's hard. It's harder than anywhere else to get in front when you're going down that straight. So I want to be in front when I get to that corner there. I want to be in front when I get to that corner there. Then that means, like I said, I've got a perfect second gear coming down this corner. I want to stay in front down here, and then this is where the fight begins. I'm in front here. I've got a really good exit along here. I'm still in front. This is where the guy's going to come back at me. So it's a toss-up between whether you want to be in front down that corner there, or you want to be behind here, you know, to then try and make your pass along here. The reason why I say I do it back there is because this straight isn't really a straight for this car, and if you get a really good exit and the guy sort of gets a good exit as you out of the corner, it can get pretty tough for him to pass you. And the reason why is because this is not straight. You don't just run down the left hand side. You don't come out of this corner here and run down the left hand side. The racing line diagonalizes this straight. So you'll be coming down here. Then you'll diagonalise that corner there. There's your apex. Then you'll run wide again here. You know, I'm talking about if you're in front. If the guy's next to you now, you can't do that obviously, but the racing line is down here. So if there's someone following you and trying to get past, it's pretty bloody hard for them to do it, because you're allowed, you know, I'm doing my hands in them stupid quotes what people did in the 90s. You're allowed to run your racing line, unless the guy's next to you, obviously. I was racing Michelle here last time we ran here, and that's exactly what I tried to do, but I was so annoyed with myself because it meant I had to defend into this first part of the Porsche curves, and I never practiced it. I never practiced my line into the Porsche curves from this side of the track, and I broke so early. He just sailed around the outside and won it from just braking where he normally brakes, you know. So I'm definitely practicing that this week, mate. Anyway, so that's that. So yeah, so that's why I want to be, you know, I want to be defending into this Porsche curve. If I can get into the first Porsche curve and get all the exits right, you have to get all these exits right. It's so tough. But if I can get all these exits right, chances are you're pretty much, you know, you're pretty much going to beat who you're fighting, you know. So let's go back and let's see what's going on with this brake marker for this corner, because I don't even know it myself. This is probably the toughest part of the track, and you have to be quick around that bit. You have to nail all that area there. You can't mess that up. If you mess that up, then you've lost. If you mess it up badly, you're out, because there's a wreck with your name on it. So let's have a look where the brake marker is. I'll remember it when I see it. Oh, easy, easy. Right. Bloody hell. So you're coming down here, cross that curve there, and I think your brake marker's there. Right, it was just before that. Whatever board that was on the right. Left! It was on the left. Mick, it was on the left. Now it's on the right. Yeah? Right is over that side. Left is this side. Right. There's a board on the left. That one. 100 metre board on the left of the track. Hit your brakes before you get to that. I think this is a third gear corner. Might even be second gear. I think this is second gear, this corner. You have to go round this corner and not run round here like that. Don't get your exit like that. It's not fastest way to do it. You want to be sort of here on the exit, coming around here for the next part, which is probably a third gear corner. We'll see when I'm up to speed. Really easy to run wide here and hit that wall. It's camera up the curb a little bit there, but it's a little bit scary. This corner here you have to really take really slow. Too slow. Because you have to hold the line on the right, not the left, the right, up to here, and then turn here and hit that curb on the left. Don't run too wide out here because it's a slowdown. And then you need to come across here like this. I don't know if you actually hit that curb, I don't think you do, but this is a lift. You can't run full throttle through here, which is ludicrous really. Take a bit of this extra part on the right. And the braking for this, I think, is right at the start of this dotted line on the right of the track. There, the pit lane entry line. I think that's where the brake marker is. Anyway, you want to run down this line, and you want the right wheels to hit that yellow curb. You want to ride up that curb like that. You're on the brakes, on the brakes, on the brakes. Aim for that little flag on the left as your turning point. Ride up that curve. Same again for the right. And then you have to brake in between these two corners. This is the slowest chicane on the track. You take a big chunk of curb there. That much. Take a big chunk here, but don't hit that red thing on the right. Just take it about as much as that. And then really worry, you know, really got to worry about taking too much there. I don't think there's much grip on that green stuff there. I think you'll lose the rear end there. Just try and go for a lap. Oh yeah, I haven't shown you quite much for this one yet. I don't know where it is. Well, it's impossible to gauge where that is. Right, your your quest for this week is work out where that brake marker is yourself. Sorry guys. I don't know where it is. Oh, I don't know where it is. Sorry guys, I'm so tired. I've just had a bath and I've just been out on a ride all day. My legs are shaking like leaves and I'm knackered. I think your brake marker's around here somewhere. I don't know. It's turn 1. I don't know where it is. I'll tell you where it is when I run at speed. Anyway, first corner. You want to cross this here. You're braking here, braking, slightly, and then here, as soon as the car's straight along this part, you heavily brake in there, and you can run a lot of this curb on the right and give you a good entry here. I think the first one, if you've got gearing like mine, this first corner will be second gear. No, this one will be first gear, and this one will be second gear. Pretty sure that's right. Tell you when I'm up to speed. Stay along the left-hand side, hit that curb on the left, give you a nice entry into this one. Look at those 4 cones as your sort of line of attack. You know, I always look at those cones, those little flags. As soon as I see them, I just keep looking at those flags. Let me just see where I can see them from. Because look, you can't see them straight away. But as soon as you do see them, there, that's where you know you've got aim for, because you just want to run the car all the way down the line of them like that. And that gives you a perfect line to run into this corner. Again, like, there's not much to say about this part of the track. You really haven't got to worry about this part of the track. You don't have to be fast down there. Braking for that one is, I think, on that sort of, what colour is it? What's that bloody colour called? Oh my god. I kept thinking it's Oculus. What the hell colour is Oculus? If anyone knows that colour. I know the colour, I just can't think of the name. Oh, I nearly had it. Oh, it's not the bridge, that's pink. That colour on the left, that colour. What is that colour called again? Oh, if I get anything in this lap guide, I want to know what that colour is. Right, so let's run a lap. I'll get it, I'm sure I'll get it in a minute. Again, watch the slow down there. So, Nicola, what do I just say? Bass drum on 1 and 3. Count to 4, evenly, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bass drum, 2. Bass drum, 4. Bass drum, 2. Bass drum, 4. Snare drum on 2 and 4. Bass drum, snare drum, bass drum, snare drum, bass drum, snare drum, bass drum, snare drum. Hi-hat on all of the numbers. Hi-hat, 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 hi-hat. Or right cymbal, right cymbal, right cymbal, right cymbal. Bass drum, snare drum, bass drum, snare drum. That is how you do a basic drum beat. Do it for hours and hours and years, and soon you will be just like me. It's a bass drum, it's a snare drum, it's a bass drum, it's a snare drum. It's a 200 metre board. I've missed it. I did that once. I did exactly. Oh, I love these lap rides. Funny story for you. A few seasons back, Michelle already knows what I'm going to tell you. A few seasons back, I was running with Michelle up front. It was just me and Michelle. We've got a gap, and every time we got to the 200 metre board, I was pulling to the right, just to pretend to him that I was going to that's when I was going to do my overtake, and I wasn't, you know, but I was just sort of like feinting it, you know, and we got to the last lap of the race, and I didn't do it because I wasn't planning to do it. I was planning to nail this brake zone, you know, right at the 200 metre board or wherever, you know, wherever the limit is when you got no fuel, and I was going to run right on his arse, right into the corner, and then overtake him afterwards. I missed the 200 metre board and I just went straight into him, and he hit those tyres down at the end there. Uwe was behind us. Bless him, bless Uwe. He didn't even overtake us, he just let us race again. Michelle had damage, I didn't, but I let Michelle win. After that, you know, I could have just said bye and gone, but I didn't do that. But it was, you know, when I explained to him what had happened, you know, it was just such a bizarre, funny thing that I'd done, you know, after all that feinting, you know, pulling to the right, you know, just at the last second, just to show him that I'm going to pass him here, you know, on the last lap, and then not, and then just booting him off. That was my plan, really, you know, just boot him off into the tyres. Anyway, so let's just run that brake zone again. So I'm going to have to get up to speed. I won't get to top speed, but I just want to show you how important it is to run. I'll show you what happens. Like, obviously, you know, there's going to be a slowdown, but I'll show you where it is, if I can show you where it is. Oh, that's a good. Oh, just realised something. Right, from the start, imagine we're on the grid now. If you've gone for this long first gear, you know, use your first gear in the slow corners type thing, the fastest way to get this car off the line in that case is to obviously floor it, dump the clutch, and then hit the clutch a few times to try and get a bit of wheel spin going, or do what other guys do when they try and start this car normally in any normal gear, and that's just feed the clutch in slowly. I won't do that. It's just, I just can't do it. You know, I mean, doing this, look. Oh, I don't know, I might try that. That was pretty much it. But the other way is doing this. And that's how you get up to speed. I'll probably do that. Like I say, it doesn't really matter what you do at the start, you know, as long as you get away and you're not 2 seconds away from the car in front of you by the time you get to the Mulsanne straight. So, let's just give it a bit of a run up for this. I still can't think that car's called. Right. Right, here's how much curb to take through here. So you brake in, down the first gear, turn in at that cone, just after the cone. Look, this is going to be too much. Yep, slow down. So you see, I didn't hit those bollards on, well, they were on the right. I didn't hit the bollards, so just run your right hand side tyres over that inside curb there. because you don't want to slow down on the last lap. Going around now, you don't want to slow down on any lap, but you know. So you're down here, first gear, pass this cone, then turn in. That's about as much as you can take. You won't want to take more than that. Right, so you hammer it down here again. Like I say, this is where I want to get my pass done along this straight. Cross here. So now I'm just starting to make the pass. You know, probably down here now. I'm trying to make the pass happen. You know, I'm on the inside here. Let's go back over here for just now. Brake on the 200 metre. There it is. Down to third. Down to second. Remember, use the camber. And this gearing's perfect second gear. Look. Hit brakes. Hit the curb on the left. Nail that apex. Down the power early. There's too much oversteering in the car at the moment. And this is what I'm saying. You cross this line here, look. You cross the line, man. Then you cross the line again. Nobody crossed the line twice. But 3 times. And then where's your braking marker? Oh, it's miles before I told you where it was. Okay, let me go back. I need to adjust that for you guys. So, coming down here. Right, your brake marker's there. Miles before that. Well, did I tell you to brake on the 200 metre? I can't remember. I told you to brake now. Right, your braking marker was right in between those two signs. It's around here somewhere. It's around here. So maybe, well, as I'm looking straight with the rift. It's one of the trees on the right I'm using as a brake marker, just like the third tree, the third tree from the right. But anyway, like I say, I think this corner here is second gear. So brake, yeah, second gear corner for me. Up to third. Watch the wall on the right, because it's easy to hit. Back down to second now. Hold the right hand side. Slow, 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 turn in. Still slow. Then you get on power in. Watch out because this is a lift here. There. Stop right on that line, or is that too late? No, I think that's a bit too late. Oh, I don't know. No, it's not, is it? Well, it's not that late if you want to go in there sideways, but I think it's a little bit. So, for safety, maybe that's the last chance saloon, you know, if you're next to someone now, if you're next to someone fighting down here, maybe that's your limit, you know, that line there. Right, there. That line. That's your brake marker. I wouldn't brake later than that. So second gear, down to first, bit of curb, not too much that was, I don't know. Yeah, no, this is what I was saying to you, I think my first gear is too long. Brake marker for turn 1 is sort of in between anywhere. Brake, 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 down to second gear, first gear. Right, okay, that whole section is first gear for me now. I've got that colour on the top. So, we won't go for a drumming lesson this time. I'm going to teach you how to get a name. If you're trying to get someone's name, what you can't remember, I'm useless with names now, my brain's going. I learned the technique to learn someone's name. And I learned Mr. John Chandra, and he was one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my life. You'll see him one day. Anyway, I couldn't remember his second name, so what you do is you go through the alphabet. So you start with A, and you just just make noises with the letter A. So you sing R, A, O, Arthur's, area, and that's what you do, right? And then you think, no, I just can't get it with A. B, okay, bo, ba, be, bi, ba, ba, ba. I think you do the vowels, you know, first, the vowels. And then you get to C and you just go, ka, ka, sa, cha, ka, cha, 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 Chandra. And that's how you get someone's name. It's a useless bit of Mulsanne straight information there for you guys. Right, let's nail the braking point. 200 metre board is there. Don't change down gear too soon there. Another good top tip. Let the revs drop down, right down before you change down. That's the reason why. My little tip to get really mechanical, you know. But basically what it is, when you're changing down gear in any car, the engine, as you're slowing down, the engine's got a braking force. Now you imagine, how can I explain braking, engine braking? Well, everyone knows what it's like when you're driving. You take your foot off the engine, off the power, and the car slows down. You know, if you put your foot on the clutch, it doesn't slow down as quick. You know, that's engine braking, and it's a lot. It's a lot of force. You know, if you ever put a socket on the front pulley of an engine and try and turn the engine over, and you realise how hard it is to move. You know, you have to use a pretty long bloody bar to get an engine to move around. You know, that's the force, the slowing the car down as it's braking, because there's no petrol going in. So the faster the engine's going, the quicker it wants to stop. So if it's at 9,000 RPM, the engine braking force on the back wheels is a lot stronger than if it was at 6,000 RPM. And if it was at 2,000 RPM, it'd be hardly anything. You know, that's how they work. That's physics. So if you're braking like you are down here, and you're turning to the right, the last thing you want to do is lock the rear wheels up, and that's what happens if you brake and change down too soon. So let the revs drop right down. Let me just run it and I'll show you. I'll show you two versions. I don't know if it will lose traction if I downshift too high, but if we get a real hot session and things are getting hot, things are on the limit, you know, it's time to cool down. Let the engines drop before you change down. So let's just do it. I don't even know if I'm about to speed now. So I'm going to brake on the limit. I'm just going to brake late now because of them. So I'm braking. No, he didn't even do it because I think it's because the tyres are cold and anything else and all the rest of it. So there's no point in me showing you what it's going to be like when the engine revs are low, because it's not going to do it at all then. But definitely do that into that corner. Any corner where you have to change down and turn, let the engine revs drop before you change down gear. And a bigger throttle blip as well. That stops the rears locking up as well. Right, so much for the board. There it is there. Down to third. There you go, that's what I'm talking about. That only lost the rear there because I changed down to second. It's the only reason why the rear broke loose there. Second gear needs sorting out because it's a bit too short. Hit the rev limiter there. Cross this track here like this, cross the line, and then cross back, because you don't want to be a bad boy, but cross it again because you're taking the piss. Then cross it again just for added measure. Down to second for me. Yeah, this second gear is no good. It's too long. It's not long enough. Needs another click of longness. Start the power now, hit the power. Watch for the lift, everyone's got to do it. Everyone's got to lift. Here. Let's just brake a little bit before to start the pit lane there. Yeah, that's where your brake point is. Down first gear. Curb. Not too much curb there, I've got to slow down that time. Right. So do not I don't know, I'm not 100% sure because it's never happened, but I'm pretty sure if you get a slowdown, if you're fighting someone, if you're in front of someone here, you get a slowdown because you've taken too much of that, I don't think you're allowed to finish the race until you clear the slowdown. Not 100% sure about that. Someone out there in forum land will tell me, will tell everyone. Oh, it was on the tip of my tongue. Oh, I had it. It's not supposed to start with A. Don't start with B. Doesn't start with C. Does it? C, cyan. Cyan, no, not cyan. D, I think it starts with D. D, da, do, 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 de, da. No, E, A. No, F off. No, G, go, H. No, it's not H. J, no. K, no. L. No. N. Oh, God, that colour, man. I have arguments with people about colours because everyone thinks I'm colourblind. I'm not. I just get them wrong. What is that colour? Oh. You know that bit in The Hobbit where Gollum and what's his name? What? Oh no, I've done it. This is twice now. Bilbo, thank God for that. You know, he's having that guessing game with Gollum. You know, and they're trying to guess each other's thing. You know, that's what I'm doing with this colour. Oh, the pain of it. That's the lap guide over.